Welcome to the Sport and Society Squad Pod, aka The Sass. Each week we bring you 3 sport or society stories to break down and give you our sassiest takes. With those sassy takes, we do want to give you a content warning that some of the language used on the pod may be explicit. We just ask that you please be mindful of where you're listening and who you're listening with. With that, let's get into it. I'm here with Wahida and Arison. How we doing, gal pals?
Hello.
Trying to survive this heat wave, but I'm not mad about it. I
was going to say, I really enjoying this summer, the first hint of summer we're getting here in Seattle.
The summer I turned Friday, yeah.
The summer I turned sweaty.
I love it.
That is legit.
I'm sorry. You're going to have to get you some AC units for this summer.
Oh my
sorry.
God.
My feet are freezing because we've got this thing on full blast. So I don't mean to brag, but it's just like
I'm like in a little like wood, so I don't. It feels nice in here.
I have the windows open. I have north facing windows, so I don't get sunshine like that. So it's not bad.
Okay. Well,
you see Wahida drip sweat.
Yeah, not that bad. It's not bad. I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm living.
Take me back to the motherland.
There you go. Before we get into the playbook for today, I want to go through a quick huddle. We will cover a few sport and society highlights from this past week so our listeners feel like they are the know with the sport and pop culture world. Here are some huddle highlights that we won't be breaking down in depth, but we think are worthy to note. So to start...
Stored.
Oh,
let's get started.
What the fuck would you do that when I took a sip of tea?
I'm so sorry.
Like, was it gonna come out my nose? I don't know. Like it was just let's get started.
I didn't even mean to. Oh, I'm tired. I don't know if I could probably repeat that again. In local sport news, in MNBA, wow, that's a little mouthful. The league commissioner, Adam Silver, says NBA owners likely to launch formal expansion process in July, which means I feel like we could be finally getting our Supersonics back because the expansions happen in 2028, I believe. Like the official.
Hopefully they don't fuck us over. No, I will believe it when I fucking see it happen because they've been stringing us along for how many fucking years now?
Yeah, when did they
fuck
leave?
Adam Silver right now. 2008.
Long time ago.
So 20-year gap. That feels right. 20 years. That feels like they're gonna let us do it. But who am I to say?
We'll find out. I'm like with Wahida. If as soon as the ink dries, we'll know.
Yeah.
I won't. Actually, I will because my household will go nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. And local women's hockey news, the first player in Seattle PWHL history is going to be F. Danielle Serdanchi.
Oh, I was like, is the F supposed to be there? It's a forward, right?
That's her position that she plays. She's a forward.
I was like, really? F. Danielle?
Oh, I'm glad that I'm doing highlights this morning. Forward, Danielle still can't say her name. Serdachny. Sorry, ma'am. Won the gold with Canada at the 2024 and 2023 IIHF Women's World Championship, scoring the game-winning goal in overtime of 2024 gold medal game.
Let's go Seattle.
That's exciting. This is so
hell yeah.
We got that good first player for that expansion team.
Yeah, that's gonna draw everyone else, I hope.
I hope. That's cool as hell.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What also is cool, the sports bra is expanding. So Portland's iconic and first ever women's sports bar will be looking for franchise opportunities. The project to expand to more cities will be funded by Reddit co-founder Alex, I don't know if I've ever said his name out loud, Ohanian?
I think so.
I don't know.
Serena's boo.
Serena's boo. As we refer to him here, Serena's boo-boo. New cities include Boston, Indianapolis, Las Vegas, and St. Louis. I was kind of surprised by some of those, all those cities besides Vegas were on the East Coast.
Oh, that's a good point.
Fair.
You know what, though? Another exciting piece of news. There is going to be another women's sports bar opening up in Seattle as well. So there is Rough and Tumble, and another like ownership group is going to open up one, I think on Capitol Hill, called, I believe it's going to be called Pitch the Baby. Not sure.
Don't put baby in a corner. That's what I'm feeling.
Throw baby with the bathwater or something?
Oh, no.
I said pitch
something of that sort.
Oh, like pitch baby? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe that's why most are on the East Coast, because West Coast has got some of its others going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Yeah, but that's exciting.
In horse news, this weekend, Kentucky Derby winner Sovereignty won the Belmont Stakes, making the horse he was one race short of winning the Triple Crown. But he won 2 out of 3, and I think that's great.
Huge news for horses.
In tennis news, Coco Gauff won the French Open and beat number 1 ranked Aryna Sabalenka. Oh, fuck me.
That's okay. I wrote it last night thinking, thank God it's not me this week.
Aryna. This is Coco's first French Open win, and it's the first time an American has won since Serena Williams in 2015. So go Coco.
I love this weekend because both number 2s won this weekend.
Yeah, for men and women.
So cool.
The men's was like a record 5.5 hour match.
Holy shit.
Could you imagine? Oh my God.
No.
No.
I couldn't. Yeah. It's like half a work day.
We need the tennis equivalent of a pitch clock in tennis.
Right.
Oh,
wait, but that's not the same because it's them going back and forth. I take it back. That doesn't make sense. In NCAA news, Texas beat Texas Tech to win the softball World Series this weekend, y'all.
This ain't Texas. Ain't no hold 'em. I need to get the lyrics down more. I'm seeing her in 3 weeks. That's
embarrassing. So that was exciting. It was a 3-game series. And Texas has been in the championship the last 2 years, but have lost. So this was kind of
Texas Tech has?
Texas, the one that won this year, has been to the
final. And they so 3rd time's a charm.
Yeah. I believe it's
gorgeous.
3. Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
I watched some highlights, which was pretty cool. In society news. Harry Potter fans, to get excited. That's me. Tom Felton, who famously played Draco Malfoy in the movie adaptation of the book series, will be returning as the villain in the Broadway production Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. He will star as Malfoy for 19 weeks starting in November 2025. Oh my God, should we go fly and see the production in London?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, no, in New York.
In New York, Broadway. Yeah, wait, he was the villain in that book series? Or you just
he was the first 3. Yeah. He was a villain.
But in the Cursed Child book.
Oh, no. He famously played as the villain in the movie. But he will return as the same villain character in a series.
Yeah, I was like, didn't we get a redemption arc for him?
You're like, don't tell me he's like Voldemort.
I was like, I read that book. I thought he stayed on his redemption arc.
I don't remember. Anyway, sorry. It was a hard read for me.
Yeah, me too. It was fine. But it's exciting.
So exciting.
In celeb couple news, singer Tiana Taylor and actor Aaron Pierre confirmed their relationship after months of romance rumors. A video of the couple kissing was posted to social media, and Taylor posted a happy birthday tribute on her Instagram. Oh my God, can we talk about how beautiful a couple they make? Seriously, they're oh my God.
Stunning. I'm like, yes. Yes.
Let me upgrade you, is what Tiana Taylor did. We're all about that Beyonce quotes today. And I'm all about those weird slang in movie news. The Wicked for Good trailer dropped this past week, and it's getting fans excited for the second part of the infamous Broadway show. Wicked for Good is set to hit theaters November 21st, so fans will have to wait a little longer to see how it all shakes out for Elphaba and Glinda.
True. Did you see that trailer?
No. And I haven't seen the first one yet.
You know what? I would really recommend, but I also am wondering if like movie theaters are going to do this thing where it's like they're going to do in the morning, you watch the first half, go get a lunch, and then you can see the second half. And I recommend that for yourself. Yeah. Because you won't have to wait.
There you go.
Which it's fine. It's a huge production.
There we go. In even more celeb couple news, singer Billie Eilish and actor Nat Wolff are stirring up romance rumors after they were spotted together kissing while also drinking champagne on a balcony in Venice, Italy. Photos were posted by Dumois. So we warn listeners to take this with a grain of salt, but love this pairing if true.
Dumas. Jesus Christ. It's just like a celebrity gossip, like Instagram. And so sometimes they post stuff that you're like, what? And then sometimes it's totally true. So take it with a grain of salt. But like if they were kissing, I don't know.
I, at the top of my head, cannot place who Nat Wolff is.
He's like super cute. What the heck was he
in? My head, she was a female. Okay.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Nat Wolff, like what was he in? He's in that really good movie that I always watch for Thanksgiving. He's in Paper Towns. That's not the movie. He's also in The Fault in Our Stars. Okay. He's Stuck in Love. That's the movie that I always watch on Thanksgiving. It's a great Thanksgiving watch.
Oh, never seen it, but okay.
Wow. What a huddlers. We just
thanks.
You're really killing it today. But I'm gonna move us to our playbook. So for today's playbook, we're gonna kick it off with a recap of the Tony Awards. Then we're going to dive into all the latest on the NCAA, as I lose my voice, lawsuit settlement. So with that, I'm actually just going to pass it right to myself. Just kind of like a little, I'm trying to think of a move that you play in a game that's like right to yourself. I don't know, onside kick? I don't know. And I'm going to start us off.
Alley-oop, but that's to someone else.
I'm going to alley-oop to myself, throw it against the backboard, catch, and just do the whole thing. But anyway, so I am so excited to chat about the 78th annual Tony Awards ceremony. I'm just going to be so transparent. Like, I've never watched the show before, including last night. I did it right back to you. Today's just cups.
Just had coffee right in my mouth when she said that.
Spit takes, yeah.
Spit
It's like that No, it's exactly like that Catherine Hahn clip from Amy Poehler's podcast where they're like, how are you so like, how are you? And it was hilarious. So you've inspired and influenced us.
Wow.
Anyways, I will
tell
just
us
go
about
ahead
the awards.
Yeah, I will say like I don't watch it, and I know that's like probably a little shocking because like I am tuned in to the Oscars, the Emmys, all of that.
And Wicked.
And Wicked, but apparently not for this. So I think my excuse is that in Seattle in June, typically it's when we have sunshine, which is not the case when all of the other awards are happening and I'm outside frolicking. Sorry, Tonys.
That's fair. It was 80 degrees this weekend. That was our first like high.
It was.
You had to be.
I was like, it's hot. Like it just, yeah. So whatever. But anyways, I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about a few fun facts. At least they're fun facts for me. So for our listeners, these are some fun facts. The Tony Awards, as I mentioned, is an annual ceremony, but the ceremony honors plays and musicals that are staged on Broadway. And that is Broadway, New York.
Not Broadway, London.
Not Broadway, London. And Broadway, just again for some context, refers to 41 theaters in and around Times Square, which each must have at least 500 seats, which is kind of wild.
Included in the awards.
That's
cool.
It is cool.
My cousin is like a dresser or a costume on Broadway.
Costume design.
And I remember my senior year of high school, I went to do a New York trip with my older, cooler cousin, and she took me to like backstage on Broadway, and I got to go to on the Wicked set. So there's my tie-in.
And you haven't seen the movie.
That's I haven't seen the movie or the play.
Because that was backstage on Broadway, baby. So I'm jealous. Also, at this award show / ceremony, there are 26 competitive categories, which I feel like is a lot. And then also there's like other awards that are non-competitive, like Lifetime Achievement and things like that sprinkled in. There are also, I thought this was kind of cool, the 2025 Broadway season, which just ended, was the highest grossing in history, which is the first time that they've like outgrossed and got that high since like the previous like peak in 2018, 2019. So
what was
huge.
What was the big, was that Hamilton 2018, 2019?
Um,
Probably.
I bet you it probably was. Fun fact about that, they're the most like decorated musical in Tony history. I think they have like 10 awards or something,
Wow.
which is huge. So fun facts.
Fun facts galore.
Fun facts. But back to the show this year. So that 70th annual ceremony had my favorite. Talk about Wicked one more time. Cynthia Erivo as host, who is also herself a Tony winner, which I realized she's like very close to EGOT status. So
Ooh.
I think she has an Emmy. No, she has a Tony. She has a Grammy. I think she was just missing the O, but I'm like, what does she have the Emmy for? I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. She's close. But she was there and she was amazing. She opened the show in this like beautiful, stunning gown and just like, I don't know. I was like, this is making me more obsessed with her. They did the best like choice they could. Also, I'm like, is this a little bit of promo for Wicked for Good Part 2? Like
they know what they're doing.
They know what they were doing. They're setting their girl up. But so big moments. Again, I'm just full transparency. I saw this online. I couldn't watch last night. But big moments that I've seen included what you just mentioned, and a performance by the original cast of Hamilton because they were celebrating its 10-year anniversary.
Okay,
so whatever. They probably were still riding on that high.
Yeah.
I always have a really hard time saying her last name. Nicole Scherzinger. Scherzinger performing Pussycat Dolls, performing as If We Never Said Goodbye from Sunset Boulevard, which I was seeing, just like reading some of the chatter on some of the like websites, and people were just saying it was like a completely phenomenal performance. And then this really killed me. Jonathan Groff was dancing and singing on top of Keanu Reeves. Like maybe even put a hand down on that chest and grabbed it. Like I was like, woo! Like truly. So, and if you don't believe it, just Google it. It's a fun one to watch.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it was a fun. I do feel like maybe I'm being a brat. Maybe that's a goal, or I don't know, a bucket list thing I should do next year is to watch it, because there were some really fun stuff that came out of it. But anyways, to the actual award part of the show, I'm not going to go through all of them. I will say I'm going to have to go through quite a few because they break it up between a musical and a play. So there's some stuff
difference.
There's a difference there. So we're going to have to go through a couple of those. But for 2025, the best play was Purpose. And after reading a little bit about that one, I'm like, I really want to see that. So it looks really good. Best musical was maybe Happy Ending. Best revival of a musical was Sunset Boulevard. Best revival of a play was Eureka Day. Best direction of a play was Sam Pinkelton, Oh Mary. Best direction of a musical was Michael Arden, Maybe Happy Ending. Best lead actor in a play was Cole Escola, Oh Mary. Best lead actor in a musical was Darren Criss, Maybe Happy Ending. Best lead actress in a play was Sarah Snook, The Picture of Dorian Gray. And then best lead actress in a musical, which, I kept that, was Nicole Scherzinger, Sunset Boulevard. Can't say it. So big night. Darren Criss, if you watched Glee, you never watched Glee.
Okay. No, well, I don't like musicals, remember? I
don't really either, but I got into that weirdly in my senior year of college. I think I was trying to avoid doing schoolwork and going on to the next stage of life. So there's that. But he's my favorite character in that show. Big snaps to him. Sarah Snook, she was in what's it called? The show with Kieran Culkin, Jeremy Strong, Succession.
I'm like,
Succession. You're like, stop in the name of the law. It's so crazy. She won this year. Last year, Jeremy Strong, who's also in that show, won. So it's fun that they're kind of having like a Broadway moment. And I think Kieran Culkin's also on Broadway right now. So they're all, after that show, having a Broadway moment. Honorable mention / history making that I also thought were cool was Kara Young, who won for best, or Kara Young, who won for best performance by an actress in a featured role in a play, made history. She's the first Black performer to win back-to-back years for the same category.
Oh.
So Snaps and Flowers, that's huge. And she was in Purpose. So even more reason to go see it. And then Braden Jacobs Jenkins, Jesus Christ, became the first Black playwright to win the Tony for Best Play since August Wilson took home the award in 1987. So those are some big moments, I feel, of the night, which were cool. But I don't know. Did you see any content, or did you have any thoughts?
Did I see any content? The answer is no. Do I have any thoughts? Did I have a question?
Okay, can I answer it?
I don't know. We'll find out. Did the host, was I correct in saying the host performed songs too?
Yeah, I think she did, at least from what I can tell, 2 songs.
Okay.
I think she opened with the song, and then I think she did one with somebody else, but I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
But yeah, I think she was singing.
She was singing. Oh, and it sounds like too with Nicole. I didn't even know she was on Broadway. I think for me that's the cool fun fact, is learning that she's went to Broadway, because I love that for her. It feels like
she's nice done like quite phenomenal. Like people were like, I remember, I think it was like in the fall maybe, or last summer. I just heard so much chatter about how lovely her performance was, like truly lovely. And I was kind of like, wow. Like I didn't, like you said, I feel like Broadway is one of those things that, this is going to sound insane because I could never, but it does seem like people who are in this field can kind of go into it and take a stab at it. And sometimes like they're even better at that. Like, I don't know.
Like
I don't know.
Musicians and stuff.
Yeah. Musicians or actors, like they can go and kind of try this, which feels very different.
Yeah. I've seen, I mean, what we just saw in the highlights talking about, Draco doing it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's got to be a fun like change up too, for either you're an actor or you're a musician, to like try something maybe out of your comfort zone, different format. You're performing live, you're not running scripts where you can just cut. You got to like, I love the idea of like more of those crossovers and seeing that, because I was never a theater kid, but I can appreciate the art and like the talent that goes into doing a live performance like week after week. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, I'll say, like, I was not a performer in the slightest, but I did go see the South Pacific, and I think maybe White Christmas was the other one that I saw at my high school. Like, some of my friends were in it, so I was like, I have to be there, obviously. But I will say, I think I was listening to another podcast where they had someone they were interviewing somebody who was on Broadway. And from my recollection, I could be wrong, one of the things that I think is so different between like film, TV, acting versus Broadway is that like you have to stick to the script. And if you don't stick to the script or say it right or omit, I think you can get fined. Like I think you can get in trouble for not actually saying what's written. Like I don't think every movie you have like freedom to say whatever the hell you want, but I think that depending on like the actor, the team of people there, you have so much more ability to kind of like riff, and that's not what's happening in a play. And I feel like that's just or a musical, or Broadway, like it just is such a different skill set. And like I think about these people that are doing 19 weeks, how many shows a week? That's such a skill to continue to like memorize, perform, and bring that emotion every week to that. Like that's always so crazy to me.
That's crazy. I mean, I will say that the play that sticks into my mind is like something I loved was Holes.
There's a play for Holes?
This is back in
you elementary. Got them hoes.
Elementary school in Seattle. We would go over to this performing arts as a field trip, and I remember seeing Hole, and I was like, and I love that book. This before the movie came out, and I was like, wow. I don't know if it was my first play I ever saw, and it wasn't a musical, and I was like, wow, this is cool.
This is everything.
This is everything. I also saw my baby cousin last month in the Heights. She
cool.
down in Miami. We went and saw and I'd never seen the movie. So my other cousin was like, this is my favorite movie. You have to watch the movie so you can understand the play more. And I would say I would go see that in concert. That's the wrong word. In live, in Broadway, in play form.
I would see it in person.
There it is.
I don't know.
Well, anyways, I feel like we need to transition before we start
before we say something wildly offensive to the Broadway community.
Yeah. All love and all respect.
True.
But I'm like, feels like a hard pivot because I'm hoping, I feel like these days there's more crossover between theater kids and athletes, but I felt like
talk about Glee if you would watch it. My God,
there was more of like, you're either a theater kid or you're an athlete, and I like that these days we're doing both. But I'm going to switch us to the athlete side of this podcast. So I want to cover over my words as we talk, because this is kind of big news that came out, and that is the NCAA lawsuit settlement that just happened this past week. So as I know, we've talked about this with in terms of NIL and all those rules, and kind of did the breakdown of that. Well, there was been going, and there's still ongoing, class action lawsuit against the NCAA. So this was a class action antitrust lawsuit brought by former college athletes arguing that they were unfairly denied payments for their name, image, and likeness before the rules changed in 2021.
Was this Reggie Bush or no? This is the one before. I don't know. Sorry, really niche question.
Yeah, that was I know he's here's the thing, there's multiple class action lawsuits.
Okay, sweet.
And I don't know if this was the one that he had his name attached to, because also there's a lot of athletes that didn't put their name on this because they they wanted to do like different ones, or whatchamacallit, this is different.
Okay.
Because this is a class action.
Okay. That makes sense, though, not having their names attached to it. Yeah.
So I think his is still ongoing. Anyways.
Okay. Whatever.
There's multiple ongoing. There's gonna be more. This is a big deal because any athlete that made a bunch of money for the colleges is like, hey, what's up? Yeah. So what happened, though, what is big news here was that $2.8 billion settlement was approved on June 7th. So why this matters is it ends the NCAA's longstanding amateurism model and opens the door for schools to pay athletes directly starting July 1st.
Holy hey.
Yeah, so
July 1st, that's quick.
Yeah, so this happened, and I know there's like some back pay from like athletes starting in like 2016, so then that wouldn't be Reggie Bush.
That makes sense. Okay.
But so some things worth noting of like what's coming down with what this settlement means. One of the top things is there's going to be up to $20.5 million a year in direct payments per school.
Wait, say that number again?
$20.5 million a year and direct payments per school, and then schools can opt in to share this revenue. And then each school, this is where it gets sticky. Each school chooses how to distribute it. So there's no universal system, which is saying a lot of people are saying right now most money will go to football and men's basketball. Current projections are like 75% to football to 15% to men's basketball, leaving just like 10% or less for all the other sports combined.
Jesus.
So then there's the NIL Go Portal and roster cap model.
Model. I think the sun has fucked us all up. Like computers involved.
So there's a new platform for NIL deals. So the roster caps will replace scholarship limits. And so it will change how teams are built and budgeted.
Jesus.
Another thing to consider is what is unclear is, will women's sports get a fair share? So with Title IX, like a huge unanswered question is, does Title IX apply to shared revenue?
My guess is no.
So if it's still undecided. If yes, schools may be forced to distribute equitably. If no, expect major cuts to non-revenue women's sports and probably non-revenue sports in general.
Jesus.
The Office of Civil Rights suggests like it applies, but it's not legally settled yet. So some people are saying there's no concern, Title IX applies, but honestly, in this day and age with his administration, who's to say what's about to happen?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say something really wild. So are these colleges anymore or businesses?
Exactly.
Like I'm not against players getting their fair share, but this just like the whole reason, not everybody, but a lot of the kids that are going to college for sports know they're not going to be pro. So if you cut all the funding, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's not about school at all.
So again, some athletes opted out of the settlement to pursue future lawsuits. One of the ongoing battles that's still going on is athletes' employment status. Remember, we've talked about that in a past episode where student athletes are in this really weird, their own little classification. So because they aren't employees, they can't push for collective bargaining rights or join a union. So they can't to make this talk about equitable and equity of all other big sports.
Why can't they start a new union though?
Because they're not an employee.
But what if they start a sport union that says that if you go to a school,
so it's like how they're classified legally. So that's why they're trying to get classified as employees or have this different kind of classification so that they can.
Sense, but I'm I'd spend my legal money trying to actually come because unions didn't always exist.
But
rules started somewhere. Come up with sport unions and.
Well, there is sports.
Probably ignorant as fuck, but
there are. I was there are sports. You got to think all of the major leagues have.
But that's when they're an employee only. There has to be something for college too. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what this is That's the issue. Is because of that special classification that has allowed them to kind of skirt a lot of these things, the NCAA.
Yeah, but that's a problem because then the
that's why it's company. That's why this is a law.
Yeah, it's just so fucking dumb. The whole thing.
Yeah,
you're so you're getting it.
Yeah, so athletes and stuff are pushing for collective bargaining rights. That's something they're actively doing.
Jesus.
NCAA is still lobbying for Congress for protection because one of the things was people were worried with this lawsuit is the NCAA will just crumble because of all these
it will.
So multiple things are coming with this. Is this a win for athletes or just a way for NCAA to avoid collapse? What is how do we protect women's sports and those other sports in this new model? And then how do new smaller schools survive? What does this mean long term? This is these with the NIL. Oh, and this also will change how third party NILs can. This is. I didn't want to fully
screw the college students again with the NIL.
It's so the idea is now because not every school handles things the same, and this is not going to be the same. And so now there's third party how they can get NILs. This model will, in theory, change how you can get NILs, be boosters, but then there are already some workarounds to work around salary caps for schools. Because big schools, so it's I mean you already shared some of your opinions, but what
I was gonna say,
how are you feeling about this? What are your thoughts on this?
I will go ahead and say I probably sound really ignorant because I don't know much about it, but apparently it fired me up in a way that I wasn't even anticipating. So I'll say I definitely don't know all the information, but I also just feel the students still, I don't know. Again, I sound probably dumb not knowing the facts, but I just will say, I get that they're trying to be employees to get the union rights that they should have, but I'm is there a different angle where it's just when you're in college, it's a completely whole new set of rules for a union. That way the school is not becoming a business. And there's
the school is a business though.
I mean,
already that's the thing is schools and the NCAA have been making money. I mean, not
that's
all
fair.
at school. It's just what we're talking about here is the athletes getting paid. So what's been happening is it is a business. Like NCAA makes all this money. But the thing is, why this lawsuit is coming to be is because the athletes that are making the viewership and these teams and all this stuff weren't getting compensation.
And so I don't know.
So they push for employment status and push for like being able to collective bargaining is so that because this business is like operating and they're getting used so that they can be part of the collective bargaining. It's already with the NIL is like a semi-pro. It's kind of like a semi-pro league now. And for me, it doesn't quite, like, this lawsuit doesn't quite change the dynamics and different like power dynamics with schools. Because the fact that they didn't put rules around how that money, like, it's not going to change all the sports that have been threatening to get cut at schools. That's still on the chopping block. You're still getting football. I saw this article which pissed me off. Was like something like Alabama, because Alabama, like these top schools, it's not just like football, like not just their like football teams like the best in the states. Like they have a lot of other sports.
They have a ton of sports that
are top. And then this idea that like, oh well, we are still gonna give it mostly to football, and like, oh, we don't have the budget, but they're also then putting like whatever Nick Saban's deal that they gave him before, like something multi-million-dollar deal, and they're like, well, we don't have money for other sports. And it's like, well, you just gave like a record-breaking and multi-million-dollar deal to the football coach, so maybe you don't give him as much. But there's this idea that they have to have even workarounds around the $20 million salary cap,
which is crazy.
Because
it's crazy
if you want to compete for a title. And how a lot of these kids, because a reminder, they are still fucking kids in my mind.
They're kids. No, and my whole thing is like there's school still happening. Like,
well, but a lot of these kids, we've reported on it this last year, being like, I'm not coming unless you give me more money. And so it just really changes even more
sports.
All of sports. I mean, we kind of knew this was coming with NIL. It's just unfortunate. Like, we'll see what is coming through. But the fact, like, Title IX, they have to, unless Title IX gets fucking upended.
Don't even put that out in the universe right now. Don't do that.
Sorry. But I think that's what's unfortunate is, like, there's the catch-22 or the loop of, like, well, these other sports are losing money or in a deficit, so football and basketball is what makes us money, so they're the one that gets money. But those sports are the ones that they market, that they put all the money into advertising to make a big deal. Like, just with the NCAA like women's softball tournament, I was like, the viewership on that, all that stuff has been crazy. Like, what happens when you start getting viewership and you get numbers? People fucking watch. So it's still that age old, like, that loop, which is kind of frustrating. Be like, well, we're just gonna go right back into our old ways instead of like.
Well, and then is it gonna just like make schools be like, well, we're gonna be the top softball team, and over here we're the top tennis team, and it's just like split the talent, like powerhouses, right? So like if you can't compete with Alabama in football and you have this budget, you're like, well, I guess this money could go a lot further for our softball team or a swim team or what, I don't know.
Yeah, that could be a strategy. I also think they said up to 20.5 million, but it's not going to be for like every school, and there's some sort of percentage on the schools are getting, and some of that's coming from like ticket prices and media viewership. So
what does this do to a school too? You know what I mean? Like, what is this? I just wonder, like, some people go to these schools because their academics are so well known. And then we're gonna have just like, and does that do anything for the students that go there other than the athletes? I don't know.
Probably not. I mean, because it's kind of like scholarships on steroids is what this change is. So it's not like that's going away.
I don't know. I'm asking a lot of like dumb questions. It feels,
I think they're like questions that we don't have answers to, and to bring nuance to this discussion, because as much as it's like, okay, this is more like a semi-pro model. We've been seeing the impacts of what the NILs are. We believe that athletes should be compensated. And is this the right way, or was this like a stopgap? Like, I think this is like NCAA's way is like, hey, we didn't want to collapse, but also we don't want to take responsibility right now for how this is going to be distributed. Because that's what's crazy to me is like they could be going about this in a more equitable way, and maybe maybe they will. Maybe Title IX will force them to, but I think with how this is coming out right now and the information that we have, it's going to right out the gates not. And so I feel like it's always really hard to like backpedal a system and
after
change
you
it.
Outroll it,
after you do that. So that will be really interesting. This replaces scholarships, but I don't know, like, I didn't get into like money wise of like, is this much of a boost? Is this like cuts? Because it was also a lot of the articles I was reading was like, you might see more cuts in sports instead of less because of the settlement. And
I also thought too, like NCAA, you just don't know who's on the back end saying, like, trying to feed money to change the rules in favor of certain.
There's,
you know what I mean? Like, that's why they're trying to probably not say anything.
There's already people trying to work around the new change in how third party NILs are and around boosters, so that they can get around these salary caps. Because the way that certain NIL deals are, there's some.
Do you say boosters?
Yeah.
You know who I think of? Who? Buddy from frickin' Friday Night Lights. The boosters. You need to go to the boosters. Okay.
It's true. Like the boosters.
The boosters.
But you've already got some of these athletes that are making a lot of money, and how do you weigh their NIL deals with the salary if we're putting salary caps in, and how do you like it's sticky, everybody. It's
fucked up. I don't mean to end us early, but I feel like we're at the point where I could start going into a territory that no one wants to hear. You know, this is super interesting. I'm curious to see, like, I think more and more is going to come out about this as we go further along. You know, they said July 1st, so 3 weeks. I'm curious to see what happens. So, you know, keep me abreast of the information you learn, please.
Yeah. This will be a continuing topic. I wish Wahida's internet connection didn't cut out, so we could. I know she has some thoughts. She has some thoughts on that, but
we did, for the listeners, we did lose Wahida. It's internet. It's here in Seattle. The computers even know it's time to get outside. So
it's 80, gonna be 80 today, baby.
We'll bring her story most likely next week. We'll see. But anyways, I'm gonna wrap us because I could chat for hours. But you know, let us know in the comments or anywhere really in person if you ever see us and spot us and know who the hell we fucking are. But let us know what stories you want to cover and maybe we'll do that.
And don't forget to hit follow and subscribe to our show on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple, and turn on notifications so you can stay up to date on all the latest sports and society stories.
And please, please, please don't forget to rate the pod. But in the meantime, stay sharp, stay sassy, and we'll catch you next time.